Welcome back, everybody, to the Spin Cycle podcast. I'm Johnny Long. Today on the show, Remco made it 3 in a row as he passed Pogačar by. SRAM is suing the UCI, and we have an update on the Israel Premier Tech situation. Let's get to it. Hello, Ronan McLaughlin. Long time no see.
Well, I mean, that's because you're just taking a break from your holidaying to do some work for a change. So, welcome back.
It's the off season till Guangxi at least. So
I thought you were going to say until the
mandated
Dauphiné.
leave till the Dauphiné. Well, maybe at least the classic. But look, use your leave or lose it. Especially after a weekend of time trials, which did.
That's why Kaylee's not here.
That's why Kaylee's not here. Remco
Is it
Evenepoel.
because he was away watching the time trial?
Yeah, or he's still asleep.
He's rewatching a recording of the time trial.
Probably. Maybe watching it backwards and upside
in slow
down.
motion.
In slow motion as well. Remco Evenepoel won the men's title. Marlon Rosa won the women's. Great result for Marlon Rosa. Has had a number of podiums and finally got the rainbow jersey. For understandable reasons, partly because of what will now become an iconic scene of Evenepoel making Pogačar look like he was pedalling through custard. I want to start and focus on the men's race. Kit,
Well, you can also go and listen to our good friends over at Will
Good point.
Talk for the Marlon Russa discussion.
But
yes.
Just before you do that, I was quite pleased to see Marlon Russo get it.
Oh,
Yeah.
ditto. Yeah.
Had so many disappointments. I mean, she hasn't just missed out in previous years. She's had been sitting along the side of the road.
Yeah.
having
And then she
DNF'd
skipped the
in previous
Swiss
years.
event last year. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, of
it was
course.
a great end to the story for her. And her podium pals, Vollering and Van der Breggen, looked delighted for her too, which was not. And they looked genuinely happy. You know, podium is where you're meant to look happy. But
Nothing like a Dutch 2-3 in a World Championships race, no matter what event. But yes, Kit, give me the rundown of the men's time trial event. Because even on paper, if you just look at the result sheet, even the top four, I would say, doesn't give you the whole picture. So
No.
how did it play out?
Well, it was a long time trial, and it was a hilly time trial, but it was also a very non-technical course. There were a couple of U-turns or a big kind of when the route turned back on itself, but it was wide. The road surface was alarmingly good, except for obviously the cobbled section, which was up a climb. But anyway, so it was 41 kilometres, give or take a few hundred metres, and Remco Evenepoel was obviously the top favourite, but there were a number of others who were expected to do well. Some who were clearly on some great form at the first couple of time checks included Del Toro, Jay Vine, Ilan Van Wilder
Yeah.
was in the hot seat before the big favourites came along, so he'd done well. But when Evenepoel then came blasting through the first time check, if it had been anyone else but him, seeing that 45-second advantage in 10.6 kilometres, you'd have thought there was an error with the timing chip system. But yeah, 45 seconds at the first time check, and almost immediately the BBC commentators, including Alex Dowsett, were starting to talk about the overtake, and that's where the drama started to kick in, because obviously the win was gone. Evenepoel could have changed bikes and tap danced for 2 minutes and still won, probably. He was cracking on, and while the others were, Jay Vine did the second best time trial. He was solid as a rock. He looked so smooth. Teddy Pogačar, on the other hand, who we were tipping as definitely a top 2 finisher. He still had, by all accounts, a pretty good time trial for him, which I'm sure we'll get into a bit. But he ultimately, obviously, was caught by Evenepoel 2 kilometres from the finish on the cobbled climb, which was expected to be maybe where he would start to come into his own and maybe take some time back. That did not happen. And he finished behind Evenepoel as Evenepoel celebrated, and then finished 1 second slower than Van Wilder and fell off the podium on his 27th birthday, which was, as he himself said, a bitter pill to swallow.
Yes, he did. Do you think, given his distaste for podium ceremonies and media interviews, he specifically lost those couple of extra seconds to also give Van Wilder a bronze medal, which he was presumably chuffed with. And that bronze medal isn't going anywhere notable in Pogačar's medal collection. Just an early conspiracy there before we get.
I mean, he did. He's Pogačar. He was always going to be interviewed.
That's true. But at the Worlds they have, it's like always a top three. You have to go and sit in front of the press, and it takes a long time.
He's building up his vengeance for next weekend.
Yeah. Well, that's what Serge Powell's, Evenepoel's national coach said, is that now we are waiting for Pogačar's revenge. Sunday coming. Question for the group: Remco was obviously good. Was it a case of Remco being good or Pogačar being bad? Which way do we sit on this?
I don't think that's the question though, because there were two other riders between Pogačar and Remco. So
Okay.
it's like Remco was definitely good. Remco was definitely the best in the world. He also won the flat time trial at the Tour de France. The question is, how bad was Pogačar compared to the other two? Was it a best ever time trial performance for Pogačar? I don't think so.
No. It's the
it-
best ever one-day time trial.
I don't know.
he's ever done.
That's sort of what I meant. I don't.
No. Is it-
Maybe it is, but I don't think.
But actually,
I still
that
think
would be influenced by the course as well, and the choice of a lot of riders not to go.
given the course and given the start list.
Yeah.
I think it's a massive missed opportunity for Pogačar. And I mean, there was just so much about yesterday I thought was a missed opportunity, including much of these, like even the skin suit. It didn't look like it was custom made and all the stuff that you need to be doing if you really want to be targeting a world's time trial these days. The kind of stuff that Remco would have had dialed in, and yeah, as I was watching it, like Pogačar struck me as someone who was like, oh, I wear a skin suit because the skin suit's faster, and I wear a helmet because the time trial helmet's faster. And Remco was like,
here are the
I
numbers.
do all this. Yeah, this is a holistic thing. It's not just like a modular approach to getting more aero. It's like a full system approach. And yeah, you add and then the best time trialist in the world, and that's why he wins by like a minute and 15 seconds.
Evenepoel was going to win anyway, though, probably, wasn't he? Even if Pogačar was on a good day. I mean, the way I look at it I don't know much about aero, but the way I kind of break it down is that, or was breaking it down, is that while Remco is he's a TT specialist turned GC rider, Pogačar is a GC rider who happens to have a TT as a string to his bow. He's the only TTs he's ever won have been in Grand Tours, besides national championships, but it's a different kettle of fish.
But I kind of mean more like Pogačar didn't give himself the opportunity to have a good day, and whether that's because he wants to win every race in the spring and now is over it come the summer, or not even or, it's actually and also the fact that I don't think we could run this exact same time trial for the next 10 years and he's not beating Evenepoel if he keeps taking the same approach as he did this year in terms of setup and equipment and preparation. He
was one of 3 in the start list to go to Canada as well. From what I can gather, he was in Canada last weekend. And how much difference that made, who knows? But he did. We talked last week about how their build-ups have been so drastically different. Evenepoel has done so little racing and so much training and done an altitude block. And Pogačar hasn't done loads since the Tour, obviously. We've talked about that till the sky turned, I don't know, whatever. But he then went out to Canada and did some training rides with his teammates. And helped McNulty, rode with McNulty to the finish in Montreal. So yeah, it's an interesting build. He looked like he was absolutely smashed. So yeah, I think, whereas it reminds me of his will he won't he to build in the build up to Paris-Roubaix, where he wasn't peaking for that event. He was like, oh well, why don't I just give it a go? It seemed like that sort of everyone says I'm amazing. Let's see if it's true. And maybe this is a kind of wake up call where Evenepoel on the other hand is obviously somebody who we know peaks just in time for his main events. It's less easy to do for a Grand Tour, which he's still struggling with maybe. But World Champs he's always bang on for. The Ardennes Classics he's often peaked just in time for. He knows how to train. Not to say Pogačar doesn't, but it's a different sort of mindset.
For sure. Obviously this whole setup of the infamous pass, Remco winning, Pogačar finishing fourth, maybe a disappointing day, opens out to be an absolute media feeding frenzy. Now, my favourite of the headlines that we've seen from the weekend is the Italian newspaper Gazzetta dello Sport, which called Sunday Pogačar's darkest day.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
Amazing. I hope the photo the weather was all right in Kigali, right? They didn't have
slightly overcast, but it was 28 degrees. It was fine.
So there was no huge thunderstorm photo of Pogačar on the time trial bike. Would we agree that it was Pogačar's darkest day? Obviously sensationalist, but do we not remember the Tour de France a couple of years ago?
I would say I'm dead.
The Loz a few years ago was
So yeah, I mean, good try. But I mean, look, we'll have to see how Pogačar reacts to this. I'm sure he's not that fussed about the time trial, especially as Ronan says that it didn't seem to be doing everything to optimise for it. We can talk about
that's
more.
That's kind of my point. Is like how often has he said over the past 12 months that this World Championships is key to him, is critical to him. He's really targeting this Worlds.
Was he targeting was he talking about the time trial explicitly?
Sorry, maybe he hasn't said that, but I had understanding built up in my head that he was really targeting this year's Worlds. And I, fast forward to this day next week, I'll probably be proven wrong. But based on Canada, based on please do not disturb jerseys that were designed in such a way to basically encourage disturbing, and based on yesterday's time trial, I don't see him being in best condition to defend his.
I think nobody's going to be in good condition next weekend. I think he's still going to go solo 6 kilometres from the finish and win the thing.
That's the world's promise, is a unsatisfactory race situation. Or it often seems that these days. Before we move on from Pogačar, just a note on the Do Not Disturb jerseys. I was alerted to the fact that both iterations of the Do Not Disturb jersey are now on sale on the Pissy website.
Oh, surprise.
For €120.
Oh my goodness.
So there you go. I think worn by someone who's not had a I know, right? €120 in this day and age seems fairly reasonable, unfortunately. I think some people that aren't Pogačar could get away with it, but just.
I think if you are Pogačar and you don't want Disturbed, just ride around in black kit.
Yeah,
agreed.
Definitely.
But yeah, maybe that ties a nice little bow on this whole thing and shows the influence of maybe Richard Plugger, where every single instance is a chance for marketing and merchandise. Should we move on to the fact that? Oh, go on. Please. I'll happily stay on this.
I appreciate that I'm maybe been a bit harsh on the guy who has won everything in the spring and then dominated the Tour de France, but I don't know why he's here if he's not here at the time trial to win it. And if he's here at the time trial to win it, I don't know why you're not doing it to the best of your ability at that point. He can't expect to turn up and just beat Remco. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. But
no, it's fair point, well made. Jay Vine, quite good? Question mark? Well, no, not a question mark. Jay Vine is quite good.
Yeah, really, really good. I didn't realise that the Vuelta had been such a late addition to his programme, but apparently it was only a few weeks beforehand that he was given the call because he had been preparing all in for the Worlds, unlike his teammate. But he looked the most solid on the time trial bike, I think, yesterday, even compared to Evenepoel. He looked like he was. He looked like he was sitting at a computer typing in places. He was so steady. He was just like, I'm just plugging away, like he was humming to himself under his moustache. He looked amazing. And it was a good course for him too. Obviously, he's a good climber. He's a good time trialist as long as it's not too technical. And that's exactly what he got yesterday. So it was perfect for him. And, best human being on the podium. I think he'll be very happy with that result.
Jay Vine's a funny one, right? Because he obviously came up through the Zwift stuff, the Zwift.
Yeah.
Then has sort of developed into a Vuelta specialist with his 4 stage wins. Won the GC at the Tour Down Under, never ridden the Tour de France, ridden a couple of Giro d'Italia, and now podium in the World TT. An odd, almost mercurial talent. Sort of a future the streets won't forget. Jay Vine is how he's coming up in my mind. I mean, he's got 2 more years on his UAE Team Emirates contract. The thing I always remember about Jay Vine is when he was told, or he said, I think, that he's like paid to perform or something like that. He made a very thing that was all. He made a comment that was like, what about the money?
He wasn't helping anyone. Yeah.
And you know, I wonder where he's 29, turning 30 late this year. Big thoughts and prayers, and know how that feels. Where do you think Jay Vine's career, just because the World Tour career came so late, do you think it's just extracting the most he can, or do you think there is, you know, legitimate reason for him to try and eke out something else from these last, you know, half decade of his career? Or is it all just about the money? I don't know, I'm thinking out loud here, but it's for a guy that's as talented as he is and has shown the potential. Do we have thoughts on Jay Vine and the trajectory, or not really?
Well, he was maybe the only rider who was a consistent presence for Almeida at the Vuelta. He did go and win 2 stages in that fairly early on, and that was building up to be a potential problem, given he was also wearing the KOM jersey. And if Almeida needed help, and you know, Soler was MIA for most of the Vuelta, Ayuso, let's not get into that again. So Vine was the last man for him, and so he also had this personal goal. But yeah, I'd forgotten that about him. The past kind of, well, why didn't you stay and help your teammate instead of going and chasing a stage win sort of thing? And it's like, well, I'm here to win. But maybe he's developed. Maybe what he's learning is that actually to be part of a team is to win also, but he still gets his own gongs along the way. But he's definitely. I mean, he's still a developing rider. He might be nearly 30, but he is. Like you say, he was a relatively late starter. But yeah, I expect he'll probably keep winning here and there, but also be a quite valuable member of the domestique squad.
We've always said that's the better lifestyle. It's just be one of these super domestique guys who gets to pull the pin a few kilometres from the top and not get bothered by the media and fans. The other thing to come out of the sort of opening weekend of the Rwanda Worlds was a Belgian journalist was not allowed into Rwanda, was not allowed to board his flight, as reported on the behest of the government, because the UCI had granted him an accreditation, and seemingly this is because of previous critical reporting of the Rwandan government. And he was being fairly open with colleagues that he did intend to go to the Rwanda Worlds and, again, report critically on what was going there and, in quotes, you know, report on what is ultimately a very authoritarian regime. The reporter is called Stein Verkreuz. I probably butchered that. Roland can maybe, if he can dissemble how I pronounced it, do a better pronunciation. But he works for the Belgian public broadcaster VRT. So I don't know, we don't want to go into a whole geopolitical discussion on this, but as great as it is to have the World Championships in Africa, and some of the images that have come out already of, you know, fans at the roadside and scenery and all that has been great. I think it's worth noting.
Important to stay aware of these things.
Be aware that the host nation is not even letting some journalists in the country. And did you see the stuff about the Dutch Federation?
Yeah, the Dutch riders and staff were sent a letter educating them on the regime and advised against any sort of PR moments with the president, unless they were on the podium, in which case there might be they might be, I don't know, trapped by that scenario. But advised to try and steer clear of any sort of politics or any sort of engagement with. Yeah.
If you go to escapecollective.com, Escape Collective contributor Dan Chalice has written a great piece on the Belgian journalist being denied entry and kind of given a bit more of the context around it, which is a great read, got me up to date. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, after the Vuelta and these Worlds, I'm just looking forward to the uncontroversial Tour of Guangxi. Just for a bit of,
Johnny.
Well, yes.
Newsflash.
Newsflash. Should we take a quick break and then we've got the Ronan section of the podcast where tangentially related to the Tour of Guangxi, which, you know, has pleased me no end. Let's do that. Welcome back. As previously mentioned, this is the Ronan McLaughlin section of the Spin Cycle podcast, backed by popular demand. And the Tour of Guangxi will be interesting for a number of reasons. It's the punishment tour, the favourite punishment tour of the year.
It'll be interesting for one reason, Johnny.
Okay, fine. It'll be interesting because it's where the UCI are piloting, is that the right word? The controversial gearing rule that they want to maybe introduce. And this story has grown legs because we're having back and forth statements between SRAM, the UCI. It's all, there's nothing we like more here than
it's like an argument in Austin times where everyone's sending letters back and forth and getting just festering in between.
Well, I mean, the main news here, Johnny, the main news here is that SRAM are effectively bringing the UCI to court over the proposed over the gear restriction rule that isn't yet a rule, but will be trialled at the Tour de Guangxi. And so, SRAM, go ahead, sir.
No, so I was going to say, Ronan, as succinctly and speaking to me like, let's say, a 14-year-old as possible, give me the lowdown briefly on what this is, if people have missed the story, and then this whole potential court thing and the statements.
So the UCI want to trial a maximum gear ratio at the Tour de Guangxi. Their thinking is that by capping the largest gear that the riders have, it will slow down the peloton, which in turn will improve safety. That has been pretty much debunked. Dan Bigham made a pretty good, had a pretty good presentation at the Science and Cycling Conference just before the Tour de France, which pointed out why this wouldn't work in terms of slowing down the peloton. And he also claimed that it distracts attention away from where the attention should be in terms of improving course design and other elements like that will actually improve safety. Nevertheless, the UCI are pressing on with it. They intend to limit the rollout. If you put your bike in the biggest gear possible and to roll out the size of that gear, they're looking to cap it at 10.46 meters, which more or less equates to the equivalent of a 54 front chainring and 11 sprocket on your rear wheel, and 28 mil tires or 30 mil tires. Yeah. Anyway, it's around about 10.46 meters. They're not going to do rollouts because to do that before each World Tour race is impractical with 180 riders on the line. So what they're effectively going to say is 54.11 and 28 or 30 mil tires, and they're just going to let anybody with that combination pass. The problem with that is that SRAM cassettes include a 10-tooth cog. SRAM cassettes are a one-piece design, so you can't just remove that 10-tooth cog and replace it with a spacer. Even if you could, that's not exactly a practical solution either. And so to get a gear that would comply with this trial regulation, SRAM riders would have to use a 49-tooth chainring with a 10-tooth sprocket. The problem is SRAM don't make a 49-tooth chainring, and so the SRAM riders will have to drop to a 48-tooth chainring, which SRAM are now arguing, first of all, distorts the whole plan. They say distorts the drivetrain market because the UCI will be effectively banning their most popular combinations within the World Tour. The SRAM are arguing that it unfairly targets SRAM and SRAM riders, and they're arguing that it breaches EU competition law. And they've filed a case with the Belgian Competition Authority, citing Articles 101 and 102 of the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union. TFEU for short. That's pretty much where we're at. The UCI have come back and said that they were blindsided by the Belgian Competition Authority, who announced this in a press release on Friday morning. which is kind of ironic given that they normally just announce things themselves without really telling it.
Yeah.
And that they plan to push on with the trial regardless. The UCI have since released a second statement in which they have questioned SRAM's motivations in filing this case, effectively suggesting that SRAM are not interested in these safety improvements that they believe the gearing restriction will bring about. SRAM's position is that this is going to do reputational damage to them. It makes this race unfair, it unfairly penalises their riders in this trial race, even if it doesn't go to a rule in future, which let's face it, it probably will, given the UCI's history with these sorts of things. That's kind of the UCI have said, well, we believe it's going to improve safety. They've said that it was recommended by SAFER, which is their group that looks at improving road race safety. They cited the CPA rider survey in UCI's response, saying that riders are behind us, and that the UCI have also said that the SRAM are wrong, that this rule is applied fairly and uniformly across all riders, which is both technically true but also sort of practically misleading, because yes, the rule is the same for all riders, but not all riders can adhere to it the same.
So how many riders in the peloton are using SRAM?
Off the top of my head, I think it's 4 teams in the men's peloton and 6 teams in the women's peloton.
Okay. That was very succinct explanation. I was with you the whole way, so thank you for that. Maybe if I'm going to break it down for people even less tech-minded than me, would you say it's similar to the UCI coming along and saying that you're only allowed to use Android phone chargers or Android-style phone chargers, and that if you are using Apple phone chargers, that's no good anymore? And so Apple are going to have to change theirs to be the same as everyone else's, or does that not work?
No.
You know how Apple have different plugs to everyone?
No, because they don't anymore, because EU came along and said you have to make everything USB-C, and so Apple did have to change.
Oh, true. I've just got an old phone. Okay, so that shows that doesn't work. But so who does that side with? That sides with SRAM? No, it sides with UCI.
It's different though, because it's different because it's not like your phone no longer sent messages as well, because the EU decided
to open that can of worms.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that barring any disaster, I'm off to Guangxi this year, which usually will be lots of fun, but now it will come with the added medicine of probably having to do lots of reporting on gear ratios.
I think first of all, for SRAM, yes, they're on the verge of their World Tour combinations being prohibited within the World Tour, but actually in terms of public perception, all the comments on these pieces that we've published so far about this, and all the social media comments are like, "Go SRAM, thank you SRAM, the next group set I'm going to buy is SRAM." So in terms of PR, it couldn't be going better. But actually, in terms of the UCI, I think this gives them the trial, and there's an easy way out of the case, and that is, so if the trial goes ahead, the UCI can then turn around and say, well, we done the trial, we didn't find anything, so now we're just going to get rid of this rule. It's not going to help. Because the trial is so fundamentally flawed also that it's actually just embarrassing to be a cyclist when you hear what the UCI are planning to do as a trial. It's almost embarrassing to be a human, because they're going to run a race with all the impossible number of variables and permutations and all the different ways that a race could unfold, and they're going to try and determine whether or not it's proved safer because the gears were smaller in that race. Yeah. And you could run the same race 100 times and you would get in each each different running of it, you would get different crashes, and it is impossible to tell which crashes didn't happen because they didn't happen. And so what the UCI, and what the UCI is actually doing is like removing the one thing that they're trying to prove causes crashes, and then trying to say that it's safer because that didn't happen. And you know, you've got all the other races that run at the moment that do include that variable. Anyway, I'm getting a bit bogged down here now, but I think they could run. The UCI could run the race. They could say we ran our trial, we found no difference because crashes still happened, which presumably they probably will. Although it is at Guangxi, the race where nobody cares. And so the guys are less likely to be taking risks anyway, and so crashes are less likely. But if I finally get to the end of my point, they can drop the rule. Hopefully then the SRAM case would disappear and they can save face. Whether or not they're smart enough to take that opportunity, I'm not so sure, because there have been opportunities to drop all this over the last 12 months that we've been reporting on this being a thing. And they haven't taken them, so only time will tell. Right,
well, thank you, Ronan, for Ronan's Corner this week. We're going to take another quick little break, and then when we're back, a couple of items to close out the show. Kit, question for you.
Yes.
Would you, if you can be the World Tour team with the most wins that a team has ever had in a cycling season, but at the same time, everyone is going to describe you as the winningest team. Do you take that poison chalice or not?
Well, yes. I mean,
you do. Okay.
They are the most successful team. The thing with this, let's just a little aside. I mean, I was delighted that my piece over the weekend was mostly a semantic discussion in the comments, but it was great just discussing this word winningest, which is used so much in sport. And I do agree with the, we have to accept a certain evolution of language. We've talked on this podcast before about the word decimate, and which always, it makes me think whenever it's used. Usually. To mean the complete opposite of what it originally meant, but anyway, that's we won't get back into that. But winningest so often combined with the word most, which
most
just
winningest.
which is just wrong. But
this is the news that UAE Team Emirates have made history with 86 victories in 2025. 20 different riders contributing to this tally. Was this breaking their own record, or was it?
No. This was breaking. I mean, their record was 81. They've been on an upwards trajectory since 2021-ish, when they had 33, and they climbed, 20, 25 wins a year until last year when they got 81. But the target that they missed last year was that of Columbia HTC from 2009. When the team included both Greipel and Cavendish, and Bosenhagen, who at that time was at his winningest, so they won 85 that year, breaking their own record from the year before. And
UAE doesn't have a sprinter.
And UAE doesn't have a sprinter. Yeah, so
just
something like 35. So our friend in the comments, Kern Monsieur, he pointed out that what makes this even more impressive is that of those 86 wins that they've got so far, UAE that is, something like 35 of them are from a solo win, compared to the vast majority. I mean, 50% of Columbia HCC's wins in 2009 were from Cavendish and Greipel, obviously then all bunch sprints. So it's a huge feat, and I worked out in putting together this piece that there are 25 more opportunities to win this year for the team, based on their program, because they've got two stage races and something like 13 one days, including Lombardia, where Pogačar will try and go 5 in a row. So I don't know. I mean, 100 is conceivable, but I would imagine at least it's going to get over 90.
So you got the Worlds on Sunday and you got the Europeans the following week. Do those races count?
So this is what I was trying to work out. The UCI points count, but the win does not go down as a team win.
Because it's National Federation.
Yeah, but the points do go towards. So Andreas Leknesund, who is on UnoX, And Norway, he scored a crucial 130 points yesterday by finishing 6th in the time trial. One of very few. In fact, I think he's the only UNO-X rider he's the only UNO-X rider on the Norwegian team. But yeah, so his 130 points go towards the team's tally, and they are now ahead of Cofidis in the fight for World Tour status. But Evenepoel, so however many points he scored, his win does not go onto Soudal Quickstep's tally, despite the points heading that way. So it's all a bit weird. Funnily enough. So it's a huge feat. So it's just how far are they going to push the record into oblivion? Who knows? Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, back in HTC Columbia's day, there were so many stage races that were all sprints. Like if you think of those Middle Eastern races, Grand Tours, you'd have a week of sprints. Yeah. I would also apologise to Juan Sebastian Milano for the UAE doesn't have a sprinter erasure. But I might be the only...
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Okay. Different strokes for different folks. But yes, very fun.
That was the year that Cavendish won 6 Grand Tour de France stages as well. But didn't win the green jersey.
I don't think Milano is, if we sat and ranked our top 10 sprinters, I don't think he's going to make it into any of our lists. And my point is that if you've got a good sprinter, you can rack up a significant number of wins. HTC had the 2 dominant sprinters of that time.
Why did they have 2? What happened there?
Well,
I was too young.
Cavendish was only a few years into his contract, and Greipel was the more established rider, I think. So I think that's the only reason I can work out, unless they were just doing we are the best, we are the champions, we'll have everyone.
It was a Kit. Was this in your time, or was this? It was a whole thing, you two young folk.
Okay, this was before I started following cycling. I was into rugby at this time.
Greipel was in the team, T-Mobile from like 2006 or something. So a couple of years before Cavendish got there, and then Cavendish. Well, no, it would have been around about the same time, wouldn't it? Actually,
they're not that different in age.
Cavendish went pro 2007, so yeah, Greipel was there before him and was sort of seen as his team. But then Cavendish came on the scene and did his
started doing that.
Well, yeah, that was the year that they broke the record, wasn't it? 2009, did you say, Kit?
2009 was the year they broke the record.
Yeah, and that was the year he did the HTC phone celebrate. HTC phones, are they still a thing?
No, I don't know.
Well, they don't know. It's certainly not a big deal anymore.
I don't even know about phone chargers, so don't talk to me about phones. It's a shame that we don't have more, of the Cavendish phone up to the celebration.
We've had
nowadays.
Evenepoel has done that, hasn't he? Evenepoel's done
but
that.
It wasn't a sponsor activation.
No, this is
that
true.
was more
a statement of.
Careful what you wish for, Johnny. Do you remember the Wout van Aert wings?
True, and I did not like that. But
you didn't.
If Evenepoel on Sunday solos from 60k out, gets out of his back pocket a safety jogger shoe and just starts like polishing it up across the line.
You see, if he had the safety jogger shoe down his front of a skin suit, that would be more aero.
That would be.
Is that what they're for, do you think?
There are no rules against carrying shoes in your chest.
Sponsor compliant, available for purchase by the public. It's all fitting in, and some of them are chunky shoes. There you go.
Crocs might be safer.
Crocs, an EF. EF could use that, I guess. Are they sponsored by Crocs?
I don't know that they are anymore. If they ever were.
I don't think they're sponsored by them. They just like terrible looking things.
Yeah. They'll just be an alternative. Shall we finish the regular part of the show with the least fun news item of the day? And that's considering we spoke about SRAM and gearing for about 15 minutes. Although, very well. Israel Premier Tech are apparently considering a name change. This is after we did report that this had been discussed, and then Dan Benson reported that the team had told him that it wasn't going to happen. And of course the team would say that, and the point is to try and find out what the team aren't saying but is happening. We have recently heard over the weekend that these talks were sort of accelerating. We then had Cycling News speaking to Factor, specifically Factor's Rob Jatellis, saying that the bike brand of Israel Premier Tech are, needing a name change and a flag change, otherwise they're out at the team. Quite a significant...
And a country of registration change.
Okay. All three.
As I understand it.
Yes.
Having also spoke to Factor.
Yes. Quite a big move. I don't know how much this will change Israel Premier Tech, because they've been quite steadfast in saying that...
Especially Sylvan Adams.
Especially seeing as the team has seemingly had support from the UCI over all the Vuelta stuff. And, the IOC, I guess, to an extent, wanting to not give in to protest, I guess. In addition to the noises coming out of Factor, we were sent some internal communications from Israel Premier Tech that was understandably leaked to us, the press, because I think of the disgruntlement and displeasure at the whole situation. So the internal communication reads, and this is sent from, I believe it was the Israel Premier Tech's general manager to the riders, says, even though this information is to be treated highly confidentially, leaked, I want to let you know that the team owners and senior management are engaged in meetings and conversations regarding the team identity and branding, looking ahead to the future. As you can imagine, it is not an easy task and the decisions are not made overnight. I want to be transparent though and let you know that we are taking the subject extremely seriously and we have the best interests of our team members as our absolute priority. It then goes on to say that, they will communicate as soon as possible. They have to keep things confidential and internal, so please don't share it with the media and others in the peloton, which understandably hasn't happened because it seems there's a general sense that the riders are not being kept in the loop to the extent that they would like to be, considering what they've been going through. I don't really want to open this up for a huge debate. I think it's just an update on a story we've been following closely. But it certainly seems, at least to me, I don't know about you guys, that a name change is looking ever more likely. And especially when we've had this, we've got the Barcelona Tour de France start next year. If Israel Premier Tech are there under their current guys, that seems like it's going to be a whole another level of what we saw at the Vuelta.
I mean, Gran Camino has already said that they won't be invited. Is it right? Yeah, and I mean, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, difficult.
It sounds like yes, I reckon it would probably be a Canadian team before too long. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
they are half. I mean, the Premier Tech link. That would make sense.
Yeah, it's we're hearing more, things that are ongoing and things that happened during the Vuelta that we're trying to chase down and stand up. So hopefully we will have some more reporting on stuff going over there. It's, I think it's fair to say, unfortunately, it's become one of the biggest stories of the season. But that's the reality. It's important. It goes bigger than cycling, and we will be bringing you that at some point, hopefully. Right, I think, everyone, in After Dark, there is shockingly some more... I've got a couple of SRAM questions for you, Ronan. And I think you had a couple of extra thoughts on that. So we'll cover that, fairly concisely in After Dark. But for now, this is the end of the free part of Spin Cycle Show. I think Haley's back on Thursday. I hope so. Rather, I wouldn't say uncharitable of him, but for me to arrive back, maybe it's my own punishment tour to arrive back from a 2-week vacation straight into the host hot seat, having missed a lot of cycling news over the past couple of weeks. I think that was what I deserved. But please go to escapecollector.com/join to sign up to become a member. Get all the access to the bonus episodes of this podcast if you like it. We let loose a bit, say some things in the trust tree. You get all of the paywall dropped on every single article. You get Ronan's performance process podcast, which is, I would say, more thorough and dedicated than this one. It's a different feel.
How do you know you don't listen to it?
I don't have to, Ronan. I don't have to. I'm in a group chat with you and Kaylee.
Right.
I have it mainlined into my bloodstream. So yes, let's leave it there. Thank you both for joining. For free members, see you on Friday or Thursday. Can't even remember. And for everyone else, After Dark continues right now. Goodbye.